2, 1. It's doing something, setting up, moving us over slowly but surely. Done. Redirecting. 2, 1. Okay. And I'm gonna mute that. And hello. Welcome everybody to our first ever You Talk on the You movement. I am B, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, when's the time for this? What's happening now? This is new. So I know people will just kind of come in as they notice that we're on. I did 1 or 2 announcements just to let you know that we would be doing a You Talk. And this is exciting. Because when I switched over from the Unfuckening Movement to the You movement, renaming it, it was all about understanding that there was a collective awakening at play, and I was very interested to hear how other people's awakening have been going. So I've been sharing with you my awakening process and the fun and the delights that have come with that. And today we are going to meet another spiritual warrior that's been going through her own transformation. And so I would like, without further ado, to, although we're getting her hand, introduce Nichole Dowhower. So I'm just going to let you do a little bit of an introduction for yourself and let everybody know kind of who you are and what brings you to this chat today.
Oh boy. Hi everyone. I'm Nichole, also known as the Pisces Poets. I don't know. I suck at introductions, to be honest. Like, what's up? I'm Nichole. I'm here. Hey, how you doing?
Well,
Um,
what I'm most curious about, Nichole, is because I've gone and looked at a lot of photographs of myself. I've been purposefully photographing myself all the way along my own journey because the transformation that I see is like astronomical. I don't know if other people notice it quite as much as I do, but I look like a totally different human.
yeah, you do.
Uh, so who were you before your awakening? Give us a little bit of a background information about who the asleep Nichole was.
Who do you sleep Nichole was? Man, that's a loaded question. Um, yeah, I noticed like yours is a lot more like physical. I mean, of course, there's like a whole emotional, spiritual component to it, but yeah, you lost like a lot of weight. Like you look like you are just glowing. Like hell yeah, girl.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Um, I don't know. I'd say like mine has been a lot more like emotional, mental, psychological, spiritual, like deconditioning and then reconditioning because, with an awakening, it's a lot about basically becoming aware of like programs that society and relationships, whoever around us has placed upon us, and then basically get to the point where you're like, fuck this, and like you said, the unfuckening. And so you just get to a point where you're like, I'm tired of this. It's time for me to find out who I am for me. So I'd say like the biggest thing for me that has changed since my awakening is definitely like my uh well, awareness of myself, but like my I was I was raised in the Christian faith. And so we talked about this kind of a little bit before about how I find it interesting that like you're finding your own relationship with God and who God is. And for me, I was told as part of my programming who God was and what to believe, and this is why. And so the biggest thing, so my awakening happened, I'd say like January, February of last year, 2023. Um, what triggered it was I had gone through a breakup with a woman that I loved, and I was just like sick of everything. I was sick of the same kind of relationships where I felt like I got walked over and stuff like that, and the same repeating cycle and stuff. And then also on top of that, like religion to me just stopped making sense because me being gay, that was like the biggest factor that went into it because in religion they tell you, you can't be gay, you're going to hell, yada yada. And so for the longest time when I was asleep, I was raised to be like that good Christian girl. Like
Yeah.
you want to talk about like a picture of transformation. There was a picture that I took here in my room when I was like 16, 17, where I had like, I didn't have long hair, but it was like down to here, and I put makeup on, and I was never like a girly girl. But, I thought I had to fit in, and there was something wrong with me because around that time, like, I liked women. But again, like in the Christian faith, that's wrong. And so I tried to just fit in, and I wore a skirt and stuff, and I felt disgusted with myself, but I didn't understand why. You just think there's something wrong with you, and
Yes.
it's not you, it's the system. And so, yeah, I was raised to be the good Christian girl, and then up until, I mean, I don't know, like, spirit has been challenging me since probably 2015 when I went in the Marines. That's another thing. I went in the Marines in 2015. My femur went,
Ouch.
yeah, big ouch.
Yes. So health crisis for yourself as well on some level. That must have taken a lot of time for recovery.
Oh yeah, 6 months to heal for that. I got a rod and 3 pins placed in my right leg. I call it my time of purgatory. That was seriously like my year of like trial by fire. Like this year, because I remember I've just seen your post about giving yourself a year. So I'd consider like 2015 to 2016 was like my trial by fire. That was my crucible because I was tested mentally, physically, spiritually every single day from 5 in the morning when we wake up till 11 o'clock at night when we could go to sleep.
Yeah.
I dealt with a lot of emotional, spiritual, psychological trauma in addition to the physical trauma of my leg breaking. I basically lost my entire identity. I did
Yes. Well,
because
yeah, if you go from being a Marine who's, your physical prowess is necessary for that type of identity, and then I imagine you were almost bedridden.
oh yeah, oh yeah. I lost a lot of dignity, a lot of I was very humbled, you could say, because when you got to go to the bathroom and all you can do is call your nurse in and they give you a bedpan and you go in the bed, like that's, it's very humbling. So I've been in I've been in the shoes of someone, well, for myself, that I don't know, you're entirely stripped of who you think. It's about who you think you should be, right?
Yes.
And spirit does that in a way to show you who you actually truly are and who you are meant to be, which is not who you think that you should be, and it's not who society tells you that you should be. So
Hmm.
yeah.
So you went from really rigid, and it's interesting to me because it's like you're mirroring from me, but on almost on the opposite side of things. Well, which is what a mirror does. You were in the closet with your sexuality, your identity. I was in the closet with my spirituality and hiding a lot of myself in that regards, because on the opposite poles, you were told who God is, and I was told who God wasn't.
Right, right.
And so because of those definitions placed upon us, both of us felt the need to conform in some way, so that we would find acceptance. Was that what was, your main factor, was a feeling of trying to conform for acceptance, or a fear of ridicule, or what was the underlying reason why you were masking?
Man, you're laying on some heavy questions, girl.
Yep, that's me.
I feel that. I don't know. I'd say it was more so fear of rejection. I really feel like in a past life, like, we talk about how, like, with us, that we dealt with a lot of fear of persecution and rejection and stuff like that. And I think, like, still to this day, like right now, that's still like something that I deal with now because it's a lot more mental for me. Awakening is dealing with the fear of being seen, the fear of being heard, the fear of my truth being spoken, because especially with like my father, that's mainly where my religious kind of upbringing came from. He wasn't, I wasn't raised in a very strict religious household like some people are, I was still allowed to like be me, but it was sort of whatever. But yeah, it was definitely more of people pleasing and fear of being myself and fear of my truth being spoken. Yeah.
Yes. And so you said that your awakening was triggered by this collapse of a relationship. Was that like a shock that was unexpected, and did you see, or can you identify now that there was a lot of that programming at play in your relationship, in regards to people pleasing and trying to like please to keep that relationship going?
Yeah, yeah, I'd say so. It wasn't really a shock. Like I had seen the signs coming, because funny enough, like the same things that were happening in our breakdown, it was basically a breakdown in communication. And that's basically what happened with me and my twin flame. When was that? 2016, 2017 was when we first started talking, and then we went into separation for a few years, tried it again in 2018, didn't work again. And so now we've been in no contact since then. But yeah, same sort of patterns that kept emerging. And I was just, I don't know, I could just feel something building because I'm very sensitive, very in tune, being Pisces. I can sort of like feel, I can feel stuff changing and I can feel stuff coming on. And so I just felt something was a brew. And then one day I woke up in January and to a text that we were breaking up. And that's kind of like I went through a severe depression and then it turned into dark night of the soul when I really began to just question everything and was basically in my very like rebellious, you think about like a rebellious teen, who's like, fuck society, I'm not gonna conform, like you can't tell me what to do. It was like that. Like
Yeah.
I was just questioning everything, nothing made sense to me, and it was like an extremely scary time too, because like we're talking about identity because that's what an awakening is what is your identity, right? And if it's not who I was told to be, then who am I for me? So that was just like the what's the saying, the straw that broke the camel's back. And so yeah, like months after that I went through a really deep dark time and depression, and it was terrifying because I always considered myself to be, I mean, I've always been very spiritual, but being raised Christian, you're told who God is. And so when that began to break down, I was like, I felt terrified, because in the Christian faith, you're told that you're being deceived by Satan and you're being led astray and you can't trust yourself. So I really had to feel that and face that, what I was told, and so that was a very terrifying time for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So would you identify that you've gone through like specific phases? Because it sounds to me that your awakening probably already began when you broke your femur,
Yeah.
even though you may not have had like a conscious awakening at
Right.
that stage. That came later on when you had the
Right.
breakdown
Yeah.
of the relationship, where you see that, okay, that's when I really went into a dark night. And would you identify other phases that, like the void, for example? Have you found at stages that you're just kind of stuck in no man's land on this process of, where bringing you up to like date, let's say this last year, what has the energies been like for you?
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster, Um, yeah, I've been in the void a few times. I didn't document my day to day, month to month awakening like you have, which is awesome. But so going back that far, it's just amazing to think at, you talk about like quantum leaping, like the person that I am today is probably, like it feels like 25 years of growth in a year and a half, 2 years, whatever.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
like I don't recognize myself at all from last year, Um, I really only kind of remember like I was saying, like how it started. Like the dark night of the soul that went on, I'd say till August of last year. Where I was just like questioning reality every day. I went through so much purging, so much anxiety, so much stress and fear. Like, what is reality if, God isn't what I was told God was? And how does reality work and am I being deceived? Because I really thought that for a while. I'm like, I must be being deceived or something. But again, it came back to, well, a lot of it has to do with me being gay, like my orientation, because if it wasn't for that, I probably still would be conforming to religious societal standards and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's just been a lot of change, but I know that it was, I'd say like August of last year, I started to get an inclination from spirit. Because that's when I started to like, figure out who I was for me and really delve into the spiritual realm and who spirit is, who creator is. If it's not who I was told it, I got to figure it out for myself. And then I got the inclination to start YouTube and stuff like that. But I'm in nursing school, so that's been that's been quite difficult to do YouTube and nursing school. So, but yeah, like I said, person that I was last year to the person that I am right now, like completely different. Like now I feel like I've gone through my awakening and it's more of a like now I can be the guide for others for what happened with me to help them along their journey and also to help start building new earths. I feel like that's what our main mission here is.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. I love how you've managed to not only transform yourself, and because to come out of the closet is huge, and you're, on YouTube telling people the world. So that must have been a huge thing for your social circle around you, your friends around you, your family, your church. If you had been a member for a period of time, did you have a lot of resistance when you started coming out and being in your own greater authenticity? Did you find that you needed to be isolated and just be with self for a while before you could sometimes it's easier to tell a stranger than it would be to tell somebody that you actually care about, well,
Right.
that's not who I am anymore. And they'd be like, what now?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
who are you? You know what I mean? I've known you for forever. What do you mean you're
Right.
not that person?
Right.
So what kind of resistance did you have when your identity began shifting? Or did you? Was everyone accepting?
So, as you could guess, I'm pretty masculine presenting. So, it was more so everyone already kind of knew, and I thankfully was in friend groups and stuff where I felt safe enough to tell people and to be more of my true authentic self. But again, it was mainly my religious upbringing, so battling myself. And my dad was also like the biggest resistance because him and I have gone at it. Him and I are either best friends or we butt heads like no one's business. And there was actually a time in 2018 where that was the first time that I tried to come out of the closet to him and my mom. And that was actually because of my twin flame. The last time that she just totally, took my heart and went, I was like, I'm so sick of this. Kind of like with my last breakup, I was like, I'm so sick of this. I can't take it anymore. And it wasn't fair to me, that I couldn't be my true authentic self. And for what?
Yes.
So I told him, and my dad was not not about it. And it was that was also very emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually jarring to where I did shut that part of myself down, at least to him and to my mom for a good while. My mom didn't say anything. She just was quiet, but my dad was like, if you think I'm going to accept my daughter as being a lesbian, you're wrong and you need psychological help. He told me that to my face. And
Oh, I'm sorry that you had that experience.
yeah, and then it got worse because we went to the beach a little bit afterwards and he got he drank some Jim Beam and got drunk and screamed in my face on a very crowded boardwalk that not very nice things about my orientation, slurs.
Yes.
And yeah, and so I I'm really grateful for my family dynamic though because I see how, why I as the soul like chose this family because especially him, like we have both challenged each other to grow so much just, you know, in the past 10 years that it's like crazy. But thankfully, when was it? Last February too. Um, I came out to him again because it was before my birthday. I was going to be 26, and I'm like, you know, I'm a grown ass woman at this point. I'm a grown ass woman and I deserve to just be me. And so I told him again, and you know, he was more accepting about it. I'd say he's still not as accepting, but you know, that's between him and I and whatever. And at least he sometimes cracks gay jokes with me, so that's a bonus. But
Well, you're collapsing an entire paradigm for him, you know. You're
exactly.
breaking a long held belief, because if he's deeply embedded in the church
Right,
and these beliefs, then that's a cultural and a generational belief that has carried with your family structure, and you've like put a stop sign and said, yeah, we're not going to keep thinking that way anymore.
right,
We're going to think a
exactly.
new way. So that's challenging for sure.
Mm-hmm.
In a good way. That's how change is going to be made, is
Right,
presenting new ways of thinking and new ways of being to people that have been deeply enmeshed and embedded into old ways of thinking. And that's
right.
the only way that the world is going to change, is when you're
Yep.
in it. You know, it's not like somebody could come around to his house and knock on the door and say, you know, let's discuss gay rights. What do you think about that? And he'd be like, no. You know, but when it's your own child, you're forced to. He's got nowhere to escape to. So
Right,
you're collapsing his own, and in a sense, creating his own awakening. You're
right,
triggering his own awakening to old beliefs
right.
that no longer function. So, you know, kudos to you. That's warrior work, most definitely, right there.
Yep. And I've already challenged his other beliefs about like from the Bible because he was basically raised in the faith, but more than me because he went to Catholic school from a young age and all that. And so I don't remember what it was exactly, but sometime last year we got talking about something in the Bible and how um you know, basically like the Bible basically kind of condemns women for being any kind of a leader or anything other than a subservient role, you know. And so I challenged that because women are actually great leaders and great spiritual beings.
Kudos to you. Yes.
I
They've
mean,
been badly edited in that Bible there. The
right,
editing that's happened to the role of women, yes, is
right.
problematic.
I mean, we literally have a
Women.
room to another realm, so it's kind of as spiritual as it gets, you know what I mean? But yeah, so I was telling him about like I just, you know, was questioning his beliefs and he really stopped and was like, I didn't think about it that way before. And I'm like, see? So that's also one of my purposes is to challenge religious doctrine. Yay.
Yes. Well, hey, that's it, it needs to happen, you know.
Yep.
The We're moving into a new age, and in this new age is going to require new thinking, because the
Right,
old paradigms don't work. Our
right,
society has never been sicker. Uh,
right.
our people have never been more repressed.
Yep,
You know, you look at how many people are walking around with trauma and diagnosed with 1,000,001 labels of saying there's something wrong with them, when what's wrong with them is they're not allowed to be themselves.
right. It's a sick society. It's not a sick individual.
Yes, it very much is. And so lots of people are waking up and collapsing paradigms by within the family or within the church or within the medical or within the, you know, and so you're kind of doing all of them. Because you're hitting it from going in a nursing perspective, which
Mhm.
is, you know, you're going into a structure that's got a very a boundaried opinion about a lot of things.
Mhm.
You're challenging church and the authority of a church mind frame, and then family generational trauma. So you're hitting it from three areas, which is, you know, that's a powerful role as a light worker without question.
Yep.
What would you describe as your greatest challenges that you've had to overcome thus far on your awakening path?
Hmm. Definitely like the biggest I'd say is just battling my own demons. Like I'd say, like remember I said about like the fear of persecution, the fear of rejection. Um, because I kind of grew up in like a people pleaser mindset and attitude. Because of like how I was raised in childhood and everything. yeah, just being able to not doubt myself and to know that to step into my own power, my own authority, my own sovereignty as a creator being and as like a warrior for the light, and to remember that, to step more into that and less into the egoic human identity. Just being able to speak my truth like I am right now, not doubting myself. That's definitely like the biggest challenge. Yeah.
And then on the opposite side of that, what would you describe as your greatest blessings, the greatest gifts that have come through this awakening process?
That's a lot of blessings, to be honest. Like just being able to smile like this, like being able to be part of the chosen that's able to lead and to be like the forerunners for new earth, and basically be warriors for God. That's such a privilege and an honor and a sacred duty that we were chosen to do, and some of our followers might be like, wow, that's really woo woo. Like, that's real spiritual. Like, you're kind of, but like, we understand. So we're able to openly talk about it, but just being able to be a blessing for others. And I always, like, when I pray, I tell spirit, like, just let me do your work and let people come to me for what they need, because I'm here to be of service. And being able to challenge those old paradigms. Like, you see my stuff on Facebook, I talk a lot about challenging religious doctrine, and some people are like, you're attacking me or whatever. And I'm like, I'm not attacking you. I'm challenging your belief systems to help you grow as a person. And so if you think that I'm attacking you, good. I am so glad that you think I'm attacking you, to be honest. I'm not, but if you see it that way, that means I'm doing my work. So, but
You're
just
triggering something,
right,
but that's triggering and attacking are two totally different things.
right,
An attack is with intention to cause harm. A
right,
trigger is like, I'm a light worker. Oops. Like I can't help my shining my light on the ignorance or on the
right,
shadow or on the this. And, light workers are notorious for rubbing people up the wrong way. Absolutely. And it's not a personal attack. It's just in my right to be me.
right.
Uh, I'm challenging your limited notions of what people are allowed to be because
Exactly.
we have such small little boxes that we place. Well, this is, feminine, this is masculine, this
Right.
is religious, this is not religious. And it's, either or and black and white. And
Yes.
we're like, yeah, no, we're collapsing all that
Yep.
duality. And that's all bullshit. And let's bring it back to some central place
Right.
that is more balanced, more loving, more compassionate, more kind.
Right.
And I like how you even talked about when I pray to God, which means you didn't reject God. You didn't reject the teachings of spirit
Right.
because of the limitations that were offered within your religion. Instead, you stepped back and you picked and chose what was truth. And yeah, I'm going to throw that one back. And yeah,
Exactly.
that one seems like a little bit more of truth because that's what it is. There's an intermingling of truths and not truths, and you need to resonate with what vibrationally feels. Yep, that one feels good to me.
Yes.
I don't feel that, any creator is going to have created me wrong.
Right.
So there is a creator, and I'm created in my rightness to be me. I
Yeah.
was created like this on purpose. So I
Right.
like how you were able to alchemize and transmute that wound of not belonging into saying, I'm gonna just, it's like Play-Doh, I'm gonna just reform this
Yeah.
into something that works better for me.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's amazing. Next question I have for you is what have been the most useful tools and techniques that you've used throughout this process? Whether that be through Dark Night of the Soul or while you were like in your hospital bed? Were you using meditation? What kind of things were you using? Because I think a lot of people, when they start the awakening process, as I said, there's limitations to the way we look at awakenings,
Mhm.
and so they fall quickly into a medical and seeking answers in medicine before they reach that kind of new spiritual perspective. So what tools, did you start maybe with pharmaceuticals for pain relief and then say, hey, this isn't working for me, so I'm going to try meditation? What did you find to be the most beneficial strategies that you can share with other people who are going through an awakening that might be experiencing massive issues on the physical, or massive breakdown in relationship and on the emotional, or massive identity crisis?
Mm. Definitely the biggest one I'd say is meditation. People think that meditation and prayer are two different things, but really they're the same thing if you think about it. But meditation, people also don't tend to realize that there's different forms of meditation, different intentions, right? Everything that we do is about an intention. So why? Why are you doing what you're doing? What is the purpose for it? So meditation can be just for mindfulness, right? Just to calm down, just to ground yourself, it's called. Get back into your senses, to de-stress, get rid of anxiety. That could be physical, emotional. But I also use it. It can and should be used as a form of prayer to talk with Creator, as I call it, and spirit. I consider creator and spirit to be two different things. If you think about the Holy Trinity, the Holy Spirit is considered to be like the wisdom aspect. Um, and then creator kind of overall controls it. But when you sit in silence, that is when everything comes to you. People think um, everything is outside of us, right? Where do I need to look for this information? Who can direct me to this information? Where is this information? Because we're talking about information, which is light and awareness. It comes from you, to be honest. It comes from you, it comes from spirit. So if you're able to just sit in silence, has to be silent, um, you will be able to find the answers that you're looking for. There's been so many times where I think, I'm really anxious, and especially during my, I guess you could call it the collapse, right? Like you were saying, where nothing made sense. My identity was collapsing. I was freaking out. When you're able to just sit in silence and you ask your questions to yourself and to spirit, you will receive your answer. And a lot of people don't seem to get that. They don't seem to know that. But yeah, definitely meditation. Knowledge, which comes from meditation, but also from outside sources. So I did a lot of digging. Like, I joined Facebook groups that were spiritually inclined. And like you said, like, I didn't have to accept everything as truth just because my old truth didn't make sense. I had to do some digging and figure out, did this work for me? Does this not work for me? Does this align with who I am? Does this make sense to me as a person? And a lot of it didn't, and that's okay. A lot of it isn't going to resonate with you, but what does, you will absorb and integrate into your spirit, into your soul, and it'll become part of you, and it will help you wake up into who you truly are. So I would say meditation is crucial. And being able to find knowledge from outside sources, and then being able to like bring the two together and integrate them, figure out what works for you and what doesn't, throw away what doesn't, and align it in you with what does.
The skill of discernment.
Yes, discernment. That is crucial.
Yeah.
That's something that's talked about in the Bible, and a lot of people think it's, God versus Satan. You're being deceived and you can't trust your heart. And, I hate that verse where it's like the heart is deceitful. It doesn't know anything. And I'm like, the heart is you. It's who you are. Like, you have to be able to trust your heart, but you also have to be able, like, everything is a balance. Everything is a duality in this reality. And so when you're able to take the mind and the heart and put them together, it creates a fusion. When you're able to take the physical and the spiritual, and you put them together and it creates a fusion. When you take any two opposites, light and dark, and you put them together, it's when you create Trinity, and Trinity is unity. Like, it's all cyclical.
Yes, I would say my mind is more deceitful than my heart.
Yes. Yes.
My mind can completely run amok
Yes.
easily and tell me all kinds of mistruths
Right.
quite often. You know, anybody that has trauma and has the experience of going through intrusive, oh, you're not good enough, they'll never love you, this, that, and the other. So yes, it's bringing both into balance and harmony and getting, actually, in my opinion, more in the heart, more into that center place and trusting in that. I think we've been too reliant on our mind as a definition, and that has, if you look at society, I don't think has worked for us.
Right. Yeah, it definitely has not. And
there's something missing. There's an element missing, which is definitely grounded in a heart space.
Yes, we need more love.
Yes, absolutely. And on the topic of love, as you've mentioned, you're on this twin flame journey. And if you had one piece of advice, because listen, I think this twin flame journey is at times insanity. At times, it's also the greatest blessing that's come into my life, as well as the greatest frustration and the greatest I want off. Where's the exit ramp? Like it can be like a true twin flame journey, in my opinion. It is not what it's depicted as. There's a lot of bad advertising. There's a lot of nonsense out there because this is a catalyst. This is a trigger for your spiritual awakening, your journey back to self, your journey back to home, which is your heart space that we were just talking about, is learning to love in a whole new way, learning to love somebody and set them free and be free, because it's not healthy, it's not, or it's not available, or there's ghosting, or there's nonsense going on. My eyes were on the ghosting thing too. What advice would you give to somebody that would come to you and say, I want to find my twin? What would you say to somebody who said that?
You don't.
Yes, I agree with you. I'd say go back home and watch a movie, be happy, because all that's going to get taken away from you. Movies and
go find a soulmate. Go be happy and in love and have children and enjoy your life.
Yes. I don't think a lot of people appreciate how it rips you apart, and you have to put yourself back together. It's an awakening on steroids, or speed is how I describe it.
I like that.
Because it just is the most challenging. And I've dealt and worked with a lot of other twins, and it is without question the most challenging thing I've witnessed people go through. But at the same time, with challenges come great rewards. If I hadn't have had that in my case, if I hadn't have had my soul recognition, my heart expansion, my kundalini, I wouldn't be what I am today. I wouldn't be this skinny. I wouldn't be single. I'd still be stuck in an abusive relationship. I wouldn't be one thing after another, freeing myself, standing up, speaking my truth, being who I am going to be, and kind of attitude of like, fuck you. I've spent my life trying to be something for everybody else, and now I'm going to be me.
Yes.
So it's a mixed blessing of hell and heaven all wrapped into one ball of crazy.
Yeah, that's a good description.
Yes. Okay. So you're not telling anyone to go and find it. Yes, I thought you would. What advice would you give anyone who got their wake-up call, and you can see now is starting where you started, that moment when everything just collapsed and you're sitting in the dark? What would you say to them?
Trust the process.
Trust the process. That's a good one. Because one of my biggest fears is that a lot of people, when that happens, aren't going to be able to cope. And so I think you probably had a lot of courage and strength because you were a Marine. And so you had already been taught a lot of skills because you were a Marine that, give you that kind of warrior perspective. What in that could you pass on to somebody and say, just just hold on, or just, is there a piece of advice that, or a skill set that you think is necessary?
Just perseverance. Perseverance above everything, and not just in your spiritual awakening, right? Just in life in general. Like, to be on this planet takes a lot of guts and a lot of courage and a lot of fortitude just to be able to continue, everyday life, and to continue to hope and wait, for a better tomorrow, a better future for yourself and for others and the planet. It takes a lot of grit, a lot of faith, which is why I say trust the process, because trust in the process is placing your faith in an unknown, a higher unknown for yourself, for everything. Yeah.
I like that. I like that you're giving us perseverance. I think it definitely has played out in my own awakening. Trusting the process has been difficult for me. It has been very challenging. Trust it is a challenging one. But yes, it ties into the root of this too shall pass. This has to
Yeah.
pass. This can't, whatever you're in today can't be the same in a month from now, in a
Right.
year from now, in 10 years from now. It
Yes.
cannot.
Right.
Something has to change. And so with the perseverance and the waiting it out, something will come along to make the shift a little bit different looking, hopefully, for people.
And a big part of it is, like, it goes together with spiritual awakening and on Twinflame journeys, is long suffering. I'll talk about that a lot. Long suffering, just being able to suffer and to wait, to kind of take all that stuff that I just mentioned and put it together to trust spirit. And when you trust spirit, when you trust creator, it creates a better you, and it creates a better reality for you, puts you on like the best timeline. That's part of the Twinflame journey, is to put you on the best timeline. And I know
Yes, accelerated timeline.
Oh God.
Accelerated healing, yeah, very, very fast healing occurs from one week to the next. Quantum leaps, massive shifts,
Yes.
massive new levels of awarenesses and consciousness coming in at a rapid rate. And yes, I think you're 100% correct that in the suffering, if you allow yourself to be in the suffering without judgment and accept that the suffering is there for a reason,
Yes.
you will learn something from it. But our society is set up to push suffering away at all costs.
Yes.
Everything in our society says that suffering is bad.
Right.
That you should put on a happy face, you should medicate, you should self-medicate through alcohol, cigarettes, sex, and
Weed.
gambling, weed, anything, because and high vibes only, which is totally incongruent to the twin flame journey.
Not the high vibes only.
Yes, well, yeah, let's just jump into high vibes. It's totally incongruent. If you don't allow yourself to sit in the suffering, you prolong the suffering.
Right, because you're resisting it, right? And so
yes,
you can't resist it. You just have to let it flow. That's the thing about the spiritual journey, is you have to just let it flow. Like, stop resisting it, because if you think about the laws of nature, it will always take the path of least resistance. So we build all these monuments to climb over and stuff, and we don't have to. Like, we think, right? Talk about like mind and heart. Got to get out of the mind and into the heart. The mind is all about thinking. Like, what do we think we need to do to get our twin and to be like the most spiritual person we can be, to be the happiest and healthiest and whatever. You don't have to do anything.
Yes.
You don't have
I
to.
definitely fell down that rabbit hole one too many times of, if I just heal this, if I just accomplish this, if I just take care of that, then, I'll get a text and then nothing happens. And you're like, I finally got to a place with me because at one stage I was doing so many healings. Like I was like seeking healings out everywhere, like going on weekend retreats and like, oh, if I just heal this, then I'll be like, I'll be in bliss and it'll all work out. And I was at a healing retreat on a weekend retreat, and I was supposed to have another round of plant medicine, and I was like, no. And they're like, why? And I'm like, because there's no point. There's nothing I can do that's going to speed this process along. And I don't want to do the plant medicine. I'm tired and I'm cranky and leave me alone. No, I don't. And they're like, but you have to. And I'm like,
I don't want my milk, Mom.
But I don't, because I was just like, there is nothing you can do to speed the process up.
Right.
You cannot push past the suffering. You cannot push, drive around your life lessons. You cannot take the elevator. Things will come as they come, and that's all there is.
Right. And you go back to the lesson of it, the why, right? The sooner that we are able to accept that there is a reason for why everything in our life happens, no matter how small. It could be a random person that you walk into at the convenience store or whatever, and they say something to you. There is a reason for that. Nothing is like, I will tell people, nothing would exist in existence if it was not allowed for a reason, right?
Yes.
There had to be like an okay from source.
Just because you're not privy to the reason doesn't mean that there's not a reason. You may not know the reason for 20 years.
Exactly. That reason might not show up. Like in my circumstance, right? When I was still unconscious and my femur broke and I was in the Marines and I was lying in a hospital bed and I was going through all that psychological trauma, and I was just like, why? Why did this happen to me? What was the freaking purpose? And now it's 10 years down the road, and I'm like, wow, I am so thankful that happened to me, because it happened for a reason. And I just had to keep that long suffering, keep that perseverance, and keep that hope in spirit that something was going to change down the road, and that this still had a purpose, because otherwise it wouldn't have happened if it didn't have a purpose.
Yes.
So if we are able to take that path of least resistance and just stay in the heart space instead of in the mind and thinking about it, and just feeling it and accepting it and being in it, then the reason will come, and you'll be able to learn that lesson a lot quicker than if you resist it and you try to do everything in your power to, sweep it under the rug. Then you will, like we talked about, like quantum leaping, like you'll start seeing things, like synchronicities will start popping up out of the blue, and you'll be like, what? Like it kind of gets freaky, the synchronicities. Like they're everywhere now. They're not just license plate numbers. It's something random, and I'm like, oh, well, that happened for a reason,
I love that. And you've been pulled into nursing now, which I absolutely adore, because it's placing you in one of those structures that needs light workers, needs a new, because you're going to be working around and with patients that are asking those very questions. Why did this happen to me? Why am I dying? Why is my family member sick? Why, and for you to be able to come in and not just offer medical care, but medical care backed by a spiritual, heart-centered approach.
Right.
It's exactly the bridge that is required to start collapsing duality in regards to, medical or spiritual, and bringing them into oneness. So, Kudos to you. That's fantastic. I've always said that's what we're here to do. We're here to bridge the gaps between things, bridge the gaps between, a lot of what I talk about is, the psychology and the understanding of addictions from a psychological point of view, and bridging that to the spiritual understanding and saying, hey, somewhere in the middle is where the truth is. It's not either one of these.
Yes.
The more people that can go into approaches that were once singular and bring them into a place of melding, a place of bonding, that's how the world is going to shift, one person at a time, as bridges
Yes.
of light,
Yes.
is the way that I look at it. Would you offer, or I'd love to hear your opinion on your role as a nurse moving forward, how you see yourself?
So we're talking about like bridging things together and how nursing is really a spiritual practice. And if we look back to ancient ways of life, like the medicine man, you and how they were kind of like the nurse and the doctor who people went to for care, and it wasn't just physical with drugs, right? They gave them herbs, and typically these herbs had a spiritual component to them, like ayahuasca, weed. They have a spiritual healing component. I mean, it comes from Mother Gaia, and she is a healing entity. So that is one aspect. Reiki,
Yes.
I really would love to help bring like healing medicinal herbs and Reiki into the nursing field, because in my experience, and I'm sure a lot of people's experience, so much of healthcare is just big pharma. Here's, oh, you have an ailment. Here you go. Here's a drug for that. Here's a prescription. Oh, you're depressed, you're anxious. Here's a prescription.
Well,
It,
yes, and when we do that, we're looking at people through the lens of, a scope, and seeing only, a small pharmacological happenstance, instead of seeing them as a body, as an emotion, as a person that has inner child wounds and trauma,
right?
and a very whole approach.
Yes,
And yes, the more we understand somebody from a spiritual, energetic, all levels, the better healthcare they're going to be, because they're a
right,
whole person. They're not just, okay, this does this to your bloods when you take this med, and so you should be fine. Well, what about the trauma?
right. You're not treating the underlying cause. And
Yes,
that's another system is big pharma. They don't want to treat the underlying cause because then they wouldn't be in business.
yes, follow the money.
We could have cured cancer by now, you know? It could totally be
And
cured.
are
There
you
probably is one.
finding, I'm interested if you're finding in nursing school, like limitations, or are you butting heads, with some of the teachings?
I Not really, but I'm not a big proponent of just handing out medications, like I just said. But I am really thankful for how nursing has taught me a lot about the big picture of things, and how nursing has really become the part of my true identity as a healer, as a guide, as an intuitive spiritual leader, because like we were saying, like it's not just one single thing, and it's not one or the other, it's two things together, and everything is a holistic thing. So even in nursing, you just might think, okay, well, they give you medications, or they just take care of you in the hospital or whatever. But we're also taught more about a holistic approach, and how okay, this person could have cancer from where they lived or where they worked, and looking at the environmental factors of all that, looking at their stress, looking at their psychological background. It's not just one thing. It is
So you find the
everything.
education has really expanded?
Oh yeah,
Oh, that's good.
yeah,
That's good to know.
yeah, yeah. Um, of course, a lot still has to change. I know that
We're,
since
we're only at the beginning.
Exactly. We're
We're
still
at the
in
very
the
the beginning. It's like the kickoff
yes,
has only just started. You know, Pluto
yes,
going direct next month is going to be really, as far as I'm concerned, when the games actually begin. Let them be a little less Hunger Games and a little bit more fun games, you know, hopefully.
love
But
it
it might feel like a little bit of a Hunger Games for some people because
for
there's going to be
some.
fear out there.
Yep,
Do you
yep.
have any final thoughts to any thing that we've discussed today that you'd like to share with the group before we sign off for the night? Because we're almost approaching an hour.
I don't know. I don't think so. I like this. I like this a lot, and that's kind of something that I feel like is part of my purpose is doing like collaborations, like you said, like bringing things together. I really feel like, we have the resources, we have the people, and we're coming to light literally, and us star seeds are waking up more every day, especially with these solar flares.
Oh, yes.
Yay.
Yeah, they've been knocking my butt.
I love the solar flares. Some people might think, oh my God, the world is ending. And you can see the auroras from Texas. And I'm like, that's great. More people waking up.
Yes, indeed. Yes. I stay very far away from the fear mongering. I don't care what camp you call yourself. If you're participating in fear mongering, I just block and delete has become my new favorite friend. I don't participate in any of that.
Yes.
So before I sign off, I just want to say thanks to everyone who joined us during the live. We had a couple comments here, and to anyone that joins us after in recording, this video will be available both on the U movement as well as the Pisces Poet. So if you want to follow Nichole on her channel, the Pisces Poet is her handle, and you can hop on there and follow her and watch her progress as she leads us into a new way of bridging the world of spirituality and nursing as she has been called to do on her own spiritual quest and
Yep.
mission, which is fantastic. If you would like to collaborate and be a guest on You Talk to talk about your awakening, to talk about your twin flame journey, to talk about your healing crisis, you name it, get in touch with me. The way to do that is just being@gmail.com. That is usually in the description. It's just the letter B, just the letter B, being@gmail.com. And we can set up one of these so that you can share your insights and your wisdoms with a whole bunch of other people, and we can exchange and put on both platforms as well. So with that said, I'm going to say goodnight. We have Ellie saying, thanks for the live, sweet. And we had Shelley joining us earlier and saying that she had related to a lot of what you were saying. So that's some nice feedback. And with that said, I'm going to love and leave you and wish you all an absolutely fabulous evening, and peace out. Now, I just need to find the stop.
I believe in you.
Yes, it's always great fun when I try to figure out how to stop something. I've got stop